All right, welcome to part 3 here of our Zendikar Rising set review. I am Ethan. I'm joined by Alex Nikolic from the Limited Level Ups podcast. We're going through blue here, commons, uncommons, then rares and mythics, and within each of those we're sorting by CMC, not alphabetical. So that's why we're starting off here with Bubble Snare, single blue for an aura, as kicker 2 and a blue. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, and if you kicked it, you tap enchanted creature when Bubble Snare enters the battlefield.
So from the sounds of it, you and I are both pretty high on this card, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good card.
Yeah, this is quite good. This has to be the best version of this effect we've seen in quite a long time, right?
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, like you could argue for Unquenchable Thirst, but like
sure, yeah.
But you needed some setup for that. Just that the split of this. I mean, I think we both talked about this on our respective podcasts this past week. But like the split of this card being like 4 mana Capture Spear is good. But then the times when like you're racing or whatever, your opponent's attacked in and you get to double spell with this, as it's just like single mana, that thing stays tapped. It's very, very flexible.
Yeah, and I do think that the blue decks, we'll see a lot of the cards as we go, but I do think that blue is generally more of a tempo color than a control color in this set.
Okay.
So I do think, you might think in your tempo blue decks, you're not going to get, racing situations aren't going to happen. Or sorry, in your blue decks, racing situations aren't going to happen that often. But I think that blues archetypes lend themselves to be tempo archetypes enough of the time where it's going to be really nice to go like, tap down your walker or your attacker that just attack, get in with my team. You have one less creature for 1 mana. Like that's giant, right?
Yeah.
So, you have all the same caveats as the Nihiri's, whatever that was called, the passive effect, right? Sure. Stuff, you have to worry about that. But is it interesting? Better or worse than that card? Better or worse than the pacifism?
Worse, I think.
I think so too, but it's not clear, right? Like it's not just obvious.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'm giving this higher than a C currently. Having not seen all the so like we're getting all crazy about this card, but like Capture Sphere is usually kind of clunky. It's usually like a C- or whatever. This is a pretty big upgrade, I think, from that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that. Oh, also it's like a cheap kicker card too, right?
Right. Yeah. Kicker synergies as well. That's right. That's true.
All right, I kind of want to go C+ in this one. I'm gonna
all right, fine.
Be a bit hot takey.
Let's go hot takey here.
All right. Next up, we have Shell Shields. This is a single blue mana.
Chilling Trap. Sorry.
Chilling Trap. Sorry about that. Chilling Trap. So this is a single blue mana for an instant. Target creature gets -4, -0 until end of turn. If you control a wizard, draw a card. Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, I think this card is good.
We've seen this a really long time ago, I think, in like Morning Tide or something.
Right, we cared about fairies.
Yeah. No, might have cared about wizards actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was fairies, but this is powerful, right? Like this is easy to get a 2-for-1 off this card in combat, especially because blue doesn't want to get into combat a decent amount of the time.
And isn't blue is primarily wizard, right?
Yeah, blue is primary and wizard.
Yeah.
1 mana, crazy for this effect. Like think about Befuddle from Dominaria and like the sets we've seen Befuddle, and like when you got gotten by Befuddle, you're like, all right, that was pretty bad for me. It didn't happen all the time because it's 3 mana. People didn't put it in their deck all the time, but when you got gotten, it was pretty bad. Now, this being 1 mana means people are going to put it in their deck a lot more often. And of course, you have to have a wizard, but if you're putting it in your deck, you have a wizard sub-theme most likely. I think this might end up being one of the better blue commons. Like, I think this might end up being C+ territory. Like, I'm going to give it a C, but I can see it creeping up to C+ territory.
All right, I'm down with C. I like that.
Also, just like a cantrip. It's just like, if you, like, casting a cheap spell to draw, it's almost like the thing about blue-red in M21 or basically any set where you just, like, want your cycling cantrippy cards, right? Just to trigger your spells matter things, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
Yeah. We're moving right along with the tempo plays here with Shell Shield. Single blue for an instant. Kicker 1. Target creature you control gets +0/+3 until end of turn. But if the spell was kicked, that creature also gains hexproof until end of turn. So a little throwback to Dive Down here.
Yeah, a little Dive Down action. So it's solid. I mean, again, this card is not good if blue is controlling, which I don't think it is.
And also super cheap for kicker matter stuff.
Right, and we're going to also see rogues, the blue-black archetype, playing like a real
Rogue seemed
blue-black.
very tempo-y.
Yeah, blue-black tempo, want to leave their mana up on the opponent's turn kind of thing. So this plays really nicely with those. Also, wow, talk about cheap kicker, right? Like 1 mana kicker. I don't know how often you're going to play this in your like rampy kicker decks, but if you have a few threats you do want to protect, like that's real cheap kicker.
Yeah.
All that being said, this is not a great card. Like you're not going to just jam this.
D+, I think.
Yeah, it's a D+ still. It's super flexible, but not going to be great all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we have Zulaport Duelist. It's a single blue mana for a human rogue. It's a 1/1 with flash. When Zulaport Duelist enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature gets -2, -0 until end of turn. Its controller mills 2 cards.
I am out on this card.
I'm in on this card.
What?
I like this card quite a bit. Yeah, this is like a nice little tricksy. So you remember Fairy Duelist?
I
right?
do. I remember Fairy Duelist fondly.
All right. So this plays similarly to Fairy Duelist. What it loses in flying and being able to peck in, it gains in the mill synergies, which you do want to get to. You
want your opponent to get to 8.
You want your opponent to get to 8. There's also Death Touchers in black. Is that not enticing?
This card is a junker, Alex.
I don't think so.
This
is
a junker.
So.
Yeah.
I do not think so.
I mean, you can fill your deck with as many 1-mana 1/1s with flash as you want. That's fine.
I think you're gonna be happy playing this card.
How many copies? As many as you get?
No, not as many as you get, but like you'll be happy with 1 or 2. Also, yeah, it trades with it eats creatures sometimes, right? Like, I think this card's good.
Give me a grade.
Yeah, give it a C-.
Okay, that's higher than I'm gonna give it, but
all right, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm going D+ on that. Anti-Cognition, 1 in the blue for an instant. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell unless its controller pays 2. And if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard instead, you just straight up counter it and then scry 2.
I'm a little bit off. Like, it's fine. The fact that it can't target like a removal spell is kind of a bummer. Right? Like, it never targets a removal spell.
Yes, I agree. But it's limited. Like, most of your opponent's stuff are creatures.
Right. But I think the things that you care about a lot of times aren't going to be creatures when you're playing like the rogue deck. Like you're going to be a tempo deck. You're going to care about protecting your creatures.
That's fair, yeah.
Right. I think it's fine. I don't think you're going to be playing this card all that often, though.
I think I agree with that. I think I'm going to go C- here.
Like one of the nice things about this a tempo counter spell is you counter the creatures on curve. I don't know. Like by the time you get to 8 creatures in the grave, you're going to counter. I guess it's still fine in late game. Yeah, I'll give it a C-. I don't think this card.
Right. Folks in chat comparing this to Essence Scatter. This is just like much worse than Essence Scatter most of the time.
Right. I think so. But I would be, I'm open to this one being better than it looks.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's funny. My inclination going in was that this card is good. Like, because along the curve. Mm-hmm. I guess the question is, how good is this outside of a mill deck or outside of a rogue deck? And I think not good.
Don't think you would play it. No.
But in a blue-black deck, I think this is actually good because along the curve, you're just going to counter whatever they play, and then late game, you've probably gotten them to 8 cards, and so then this just counters whatever they play. So
yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I think it's like C- / like synergy C+ maybe.
Yeah, so I can give it a synergy C. I can give it a synergy C.
Okay.
All right. Next up here we have Cleric of Chill Depths. This is 1 in the blue for a 1/3 Merfolk Cleric. Whenever Cleric of Chill Depths blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step.
I am out on this card.
Yeah, this is. This is kind of a junker, yeah.
This is like a D. This just doesn't do enough. Not even good types can save this card for me.
Yeah, I don't think you want this one. No.
Yeah. Deliberate or deliberate? No, I guess just deliberate. That's weird because it's an instant. Like, shouldn't it be like a verb or something?
And then deliberate?
To deliberate.
Yeah.
So deliberate is right. Okay,
I'm just gonna call it deliberate when I play it though.
1 in a blue for an instant, scry 2, then draw a card.
It's not opt. It's fine.
It's omen of the sea.
Yeah, it's omen of the sea. Oh yeah, that's a good comparison. I didn't think of that.
This is good. It's gonna be a good enabler for your blue red decks.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Like that's what blue red spells matter decks want cantrips.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like C in that deck, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
synergy C.
2 mana versus 1 mana is a big difference for sure, right?
Sure, but Scry 2 is bigger than Scry 1. Like, if you're comparing it to Opt, I guess.
Yeah, I think that like the extra mana does not make up for the extra Scry does not make up for the extra mana you have to pay. I think it's much worse than Opt.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, we have baby.
Yeah.
Into the Royal. So this is 1 and a blue for an instant. Has kicker for 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If the spell was kicked, you draw a card.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this card's great. It's just
B-.
so versatile. B-, yeah. It's so versatile. You pick up your kicker cards that you've kicked that have like good effects. You buy it back with your kicker cards. You bounce your party members with good ETB effects. Like this, it kind of just does it all, right? Yeah. It bounces your opponent's things. I don't know. This card is just great. It's going to be a very high pick.
Yep.
I do not think it's going to. I don't think there's going to be a common that usurps it as we go past.
The blue commons, no. I do think that's the best one. Yeah. Next up is Tazim Royal Mage, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Merfolk Wizard with kicker 4. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand.
Cool. So it's the one from Dominaria. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wizard. It's a 2/1. Yeah, it's cute. It's cool. It's good. I'd give this like solid C. Could even creep up.
This could even be C+.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my takes on. I'm gonna go C+.
Yeah. It's a wizard. It's got enough stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
I like C+ as well.
Okay.
Ooh, this was into the Royal. Just like, man, that's a lot of value.
Ooh, that's some value. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Negate.
1 and a blue. Instant. Counter target. Non-creature spell.
Sideboard for me. I mean, you can play this, I guess, but I hope not to.
Totally fine, but not exciting.
Skyclave Squid is 1 and a blue for a 3/2 squid with Defender. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Skyclave Squid can attack this turn as though it didn't have Defender.
Weird card. It's.
I'm out. I'm out on
yeah,
Squid.
I'm pretty out on this too. Like, even if blue is kind of tempo-y, like, if this was a 3/3, I'd be down.
If it had types, I'd be down.
But, 3/2 just trades with anything. Like, I mean, you can get something out of the way with like, into the Royal or something, but I think this is generally just too poor. Like, there was the Merfolk from Eldraine, and mind you, that card is much worse because you have to pay 2 mana to have that attack.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this card's just
but here's the thing about this. Sometimes you're gonna want to attack with this, and you're not gonna be able to.
Yeah, that's the rough part.
That's really bad.
This is a lot worse than Drowsing Pteranodon because of the 2 toughness, right? Like that's what made that card quite good is it already started with high toughness and it can get through. Like when this attacks, the times you can't attack with it.
It's getting blocked. This is a D.
Yeah, I do not like this card. Yeah, I'll give it a D+. I'll give it a D+ because I think you can play it sometimes.
Okay.
All right.
Cunning Geyser Mage is 2 and a blue for a 3/2 human wizard. As kicker 2 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. I'm in.
Yeah, this is good. Even though it's an overcosted mana war, it's still good, right? Because you pay 6 mana, you get a little bit of tempo back from casting a 6 mana spell, right? Bounce your biggest thing. This is still very good. Even at like either point on the curve, playing this 3-drop wizard, it's gonna be good. Playing this as a 6-drop, it's going to be good. I like it as C+.
I agree with C+.
Cool. All right, what do you think of this one, Ethan? Field Research. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Kicker. 2 and a blue. Draw 2 cards. If the spell was kicked, you draw 3 instead.
This just doesn't seem like what the format is about. Like, Divination doesn't seem great to me here.
Yeah.
It's just so hard when Into the Royal exists. Like, I don't know. I feel like you're getting so much value from stuff. Like, do you with ETBs and
right?
Like, do you really just need strict draw card? Maybe in my dedicated blue-green kicker decks, I'll be happy with this. But I don't think. I don't know. I don't even know if I want these in my blue-red Wizzy decks.
Right. That's the thing, and I think somewhere I talked about this recently. But just like as Magic creatures get better. With just having like value effects, stuff like that, you want these cards left. Just like straight draw spells, right? Just because your creatures do that value kind of thing for you, right?
Yeah.
Now you will want some of the amount of the time, for sure.
And
It's not just solid on its own, I don't think.
And I'm not saying that in terms of like, I think the format's going to be fast, so you don't have time for this. I just think like there's just so much value elsewhere.
Right.
That value that doesn't affect the board, I think, is not where you want to be generally.
Now, something that's interesting is the reason that divination was so good in Dominaria, or one of the reasons, was that kicker existed, right? Because either a land or a spell was decent in the late game, right? Like you didn't mind drawing a land.
That's true.
I don't know if that's going to be true here, right? I don't know if the kicker deck's going to play out in the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm not going to start high. C minus probably.
Yeah, that even seems generous to me, but I'm down with that. If blue is tempo-y, this card's going to be good. Glacial Grasp is 2 and a blue for an instant. Tap target creature its controller mills 2. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Draw a card. Like, this is like when Into the Royal and this exist, I just like can't ever imagine. And it does seem like all of that. We got Bubble Snare, Chilling Trap. Like, I think you really have blue pegged as a tempo color here, and that's, I think, another knock against Field Research and a bump for this card.
Yeah, this kind of it kind of does it all, right? Like, it's good for the rogue deck specifically.
It's good for the wizard deck.
For the wizard deck, yeah. I think you're going to be happy having a copy or two of this card. It's a little clunky, of course, right? But you're never going to be sad about this card. It's gonna be a solid C, maybe a C minus, right?
I think the first copy probably plays as a C most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, I'm excited about this one. I like this one a lot. So this is Risen Riptide. So this is 2 and a blue for an elemental. It's an 0/5. But whenever you cast a kick spell, Risen Riptide has base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn.
This into the Royal is a nice little curve.
That's a beating, right? Yeah. So 5 toughness blocks basically everything. Barring a combat trick or something, which is still fine. And then, either you are in like a tempo-y blue deck with a few kicker cards, and this turns on in the early game, or you just you play this early, you kick some cards in the late game, you get like a big effect from your like 7-drop kicker card you play, and this turns into a 5/5 that you can beat down with. Like that's quite good. I think this card maybe not like top 3 commons, but like I can see this being like the third best common.
This is like if we're thinking like Into the Royal is number 1, and then the Bounce Wizard is maybe number 2. Like when you start to diverge a little bit, like there are going to be times where you're like, do I want this cantrip for my Wizards deck, or do I want Riptide for my kicker deck or whatever? Like, but I definitely agree with you. I think it's in that conversation.
Well, if we're just looking at the top 3 blue commons that we really like, they all have kicker, right? The Geyser Mage, Into the Royal, and Bubble Snare, they all have kicker.
Yep.
So true. I think like any of those.
And this into Bubble Snare or Into the Royal is not a hard curve to imagine.
I mean, even Geyser Mage, like, isn't that pretty nuts? Like, it's not the cleanest curve, but going 6 mana, bounce your biggest thing, attack with a 5.
Yeah.
Like that's very good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Are you going C+ here?
Oh yeah, I'm going C+.
Ooh, okay. I like it.
Awesome.
Seafloor Stalker, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 Merfolk Rogue. 4 and a blue, Seafloor Stalker gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and it can't be blocked this turn. The spell costs 1 less to cast, or 1 less to activate for each creature in your party.
I like this card a lot as well.
Yeah.
I think it's quite good.
3 mana 2/3, good types, a win condition at common. It's great.
So when I originally looked at blue-white, and I think even as we were talking about here, I was saying, I thought maybe blue-white was full party control and black-red was like full party aggro. I do just think blue-white's a tempo deck, though. Like, all of blue's commons are tempo-y. White's commons are aggressive for the most part. I think you can have blue-white being more of a controlling deck, but I don't think it's going to be the baseline. I think it's going to be the exception to the rule. Yeah. And so if you're thinking of blue-white as a tempo deck, and blue-white being one of the decks, the other one being red-black, that can fill out its party most likely, or most often, this becomes 2, sometimes 1 mana. Right, to like when you can get this down to 1 mana, it's absurd. When you can get it to 2, it's still quite good, right? Because you can pump it multiple times, right? Yeah. This ends the game really quick. It's a rogue on its own. It's a decent body for blocking. I think this is another C+.
I think it's another C+ too. Blue, good and limited. Who knew?
Yeah. All right. Next up here we have Cascade Seer. So this is 3 and a blue for a Merfolk Wizard. It's a 3/3. When Cascades here enters the battlefield, scry X, where X is the number of creatures in your party. It's an Octoprofit.
Yeah, I'm out on Octoprofit.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine.
It's a C-. It's got types.
You'll play it sometimes. Very replaceable before, though.
Yeah. Expedition Diviner is 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Merfolk Wizard with flying. And as long as you control another wizard, when this creature dies, draw a card. I'm in on Snapping Drake.
Yeah, Snapping Drake with upside. With 2 upsides. It's got the wizard upside and draw
types
card.
On types, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Super solid C, I think.
Could even push into C+ territory, I think.
Yeah, I can see it. Especially just like Snapping Drake gets so much better when you are tempo-y, right? Like a lot of times Snapping Drake is a fine card in your like sets that are more, blue is more controlling, and I think when you're more aggressive, it's even better.
Yeah. All
right.
Blue's looking pretty stacked here. What's the last common here?
Got Living Tempest. So this is 4 and a blue for a 3/3 elemental flash flying.
This is going to get worse as the format progresses, as people start to stupidly attack into it. It's going to be like, what do you do when your blue opponent passes with 5 mana up? Like,
right. It's very much...
So you could have Into the Royal, you could have this, you could have a counter spell. Blue's got some tools. I think this is a C.
Yeah, it's a little underwhelming, right?
It's a little underwhelming, no types.
Yeah, I don't... It's a C in the sense that, like, it's fine. I'm not excited about it at all, but you'll play it. It's
that's true.
Especially with Blue's tempo cards, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, more Force Spikes. Concerted Defense is a single blue instant here at uncommon. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1 plus an additional 1 for each creature in your party. You don't even give this a sideboard card, personally. Like, I think this is just an F.
Yeah, it's too conditional. Even if you're bringing it, like, maybe you bring it in against... there might be some...
The 7 mana flip lands or whatever.
Sure, but then it's a disaster when they play it as a land on turn 1 or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think this is just an F.
Yeah, I do not think you will gain equity from playing this card in the vast majority of situations, basically, right?
Yeah, agreed.
All right, next up we have Merfolk Windrobber. This is a cool one. So this is 1 mana for a 1/1 flyer, Merfolk Rogue. When Merfolk Windrobber deals combat damage to a player, that player mills a card, and you can sacrifice Merfolk Windrobber to draw a card and activate this ability only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their grave. Yeah.
Yeah, he says. I think this is highly medium. Perhaps like synergistic in a dedicated blue-black rogue deck.
Well, again, it's that 1-drop with a relevant type, right? Getting that party going early, getting the mill going early is important.
But what about when it's not on turn 1?
And it draws a card very soon.
If you're milling them.
I think you're going to be, though, if you put this card in your deck.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this is good in a blue-black deck. I don't think outside of it's going to be very good.
I can see it being good in blue-white as well, though, because,
you're going to have rogues. If you're trying to get types, you're going to have rogues. You don't need to play a 1-mana 1/1. You don't need to play a flying man or whatever in your party decks.
I think you will. Some amount of the time. I'm going to give it a C.
A C, you said?
Yeah, C.
I'm going to go like Synergy C. Synergy C is fine.
All right, next up we have Roost of Drakes. Ooh, this is an Ethan card if I've ever seen one. And then a single mana for an enchantment. Kicker for 2 and a blue. It says, when Roost of Drakes enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create a 2/2 blue drake creature flying token. And whenever you cast a kicked spell, create a 2/2 blue drake with flying.
This is a 4-mana 2/2 flyer, and then I can't imagine ever just casting this for 1. So it's a 4-mana 2/2 flyer, and then every time you kick something, you get a drake.
Yeah.
I think this is a build around B.
Yeah, solid, super solid. Yeah, I think it's also very, very good.
So what is an Ethan card? Is it a build around? Is it a do nothing card? Is it a bad card?
It's a build around enchantment. I think you're a Johnny at heart, Ethan. I think you want to build this cool deck, and you want to be like
I want
everybody.
I want to win. I want to win, but
you're a spiky Johnny, though.
Spiky Johnny, but I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
You like engine cards, yeah.
I very much do, yeah.
All right, what's our next one here?
Is Rune Crab, single blue for an 0/3 crab with landfall. Each opponent mills 3.
I'm in.
I would like to be in, except This is the mill engines in the format are tempo based, as we've seen so far, and I think as we will continue to see when we look at black. And so like it's not like blue-black is trying to mill your opponent. Blue-black's just trying to get your opponent to this threshold to turn on a bunch of stuff. But I think the way to kill is going to be through damage, not deck damage.
Right, I do agree. But I don't think this is strictly a blue-black card. I think this is a decent blue-green card as well, though. Right?
Just like as a win con for a blue-green control deck.
Yeah, if like this mills very quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can rebuy it. Green. I think the most common color that green is going to reach, blue-green kicker is going to reach into, or a second color or third color for a splash is black.
Yes.
So this way to rebuy it if this dies. Card's scary, right? I don't think O3 blocks all that well. It might block sometimes, some other time if you needed to. Like that's the thing with these cards, like that are kind of enchantment-y. They block when you need them to.
Sure.
Right, and that's important. If you can get multiple lands per turn, that's quite good. And you're gonna have like so many of the blue cards just instantly mill, right? So you're gonna have help even if you're not full on milling. And the rogue deck, like yes, its primary goal is not to win through milling, but it's kind of like got that two-pronged attack kind of thing where
it can do it.
You're not giving up much by milling them, and you might get to the point where it's like, oh, that's another avenue. It just opens up more pathways to win, I think, right?
So,
without giving up much.
Do you? I guess my big question is this: do you think this is a build around or is this a synergy card for you?
I would call it a synergy card, right?
I would too. I don't think I'm like seeing this and going, ooh, baby.
Right.
Now, there are going to be times if you can ever get multiples of these in a draft, then like
we're gonna see the screenshots of like the 4 crab drafts and like people going off.
If I see one of these in my openers and I'm taking in my opening pack and I take maybe a blue card and then like pack 1 pick 5, I see one of these, I'm probably gonna go, all right, let's take this. And I don't think this is going to be taken by a lot of people. So I do think you can end up in those avenues sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I almost think it is going to be taken by a lot of people. I think this kind of card appeals to people.
Yeah, people do like the milk.
Yeah,
people have a lot of fondness for Hedron Crab.
Well, there's like, I remember... I guess we should just address this. Like, just you don't just put this in your card. You don't put this card in your deck unless you're planning to win with it, right? It's not just like mill you for value, right? Unless you're the blue box, right?
Yeah. All right. I would give this a synergy C. I think.
I think synergy C plus. I think
C plus. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that low, but.
All right. Next up is Bane Veil. 1 and a blue for an instant. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-0 until end of turn, and then the flip side is a tapped blue source.
Is that how you say that word?
How would you say it?
I don't know. I literally have no clue, but I'm thinking maybe this is the blackguard of this set that you looked it up and you
that was just off the top. Let's see.
Bayin, yeah, I don't know. Bayin? I have no clue. Is this a place? Is this a thing?
Pronunciation? Anyone? Bueller?
Is that an English word? Yeah. But anyways, the card's good, right? Like again, situational effect. This when the -2 was good, it's very good. And then
it's
when you
cheap for that effect too. Like
yeah. I don't think
we usually see it for like 3 mana or something.
Yeah.
And with the flexibility, I'd expect it to be more. But yeah, I mean, this is a B minus.
C minus B plus. I guess maybe for really theory crafting here, the blue ones are like ever so slightly worse because there's not as many ways to pick them up as like the red, white.
You're leveling yourself, I think.
Maybe. But I think it's interesting to note that, right? Like the more conditional ones, right? Like that you would like later.
Right.
Just worth noting. I don't think it's like gonna affect my grade or anything, but I'm gonna go C plus B minus on this one.
Okay.
All right, next up we have Juwari Disruption. This is 1 and a blue for an instant counter target spell unless its controller pays 1, and it's got the land on the backside. So more conditional counter magic in this set.
Yeah, I think this one is good still. But I think it's a C plus for me.
Yeah. It's again one of those ones that is an early game card on both sides. But you can hold it when your opponent has expensive cards in their deck, right? Especially with, in a set with kicker,
people are gonna have expensive spells, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. This does get a little bit better against some opponents, not every opponent, but some opponents.
Yeah.
So yeah, C plus.
C plus, I think.
All right, awesome.
Lull Mage's Domination, X triple blue for a sorcery. The spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a creature whose controller has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, and you gain control of target creature with converted mana cost X.
Yeah, this is a weird one, eh?
Yeah, I'm glad they're making control magics worse. Like, enthralling hold into this feels good.
I think this is going to end up being just not good.
I think it's so not good. Explain yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's going to be a lower pick than Enthralling Hold was. Basically,
I agree with that.
I think that it'll be a C. It's a fine card. You got to work for it though, and a lot of times, like, another thing that has made control magics worse over the years, aside from just them making them more less powerful intrinsically, is that each creature your opponent has is just more powerful. It's no longer like your opponent has 1A and a bunch of C minuses or whatever. It's like all of them are pretty darn good, right? So you steal one thing, and they still have, it's not like the game's over because you stole their best thing, right? You steal one good thing, they still have a lot of really good things. And now, mind you, that's still a very good effect.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's like insane enough to be like, I'm really gonna turbo out my mill to make this work to steal one of their creatures.
My feeling is this is a secret blue-black card.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I don't think you should be playing this in maybe your blue-red decks, but probably not.
Just because, it's got to be the right matchup where 5 mana steal your 2-drop is a good play.
Right. Yeah. C+, C.
I think C+ is where I'm going to start.
Yeah. It's almost like build aroundy in what you have to do in the game. Like, it's not a build around in the draft, but like in the game, you really have to sequence and plan around this. I think it's not just gonna do its thing every time.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Solundi Vision. So this is 2 and a blue for an instant. You may look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them. Put into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order, in a random order. And it's got the land on the back, blue land.
This is great, and especially great in blue-red.
Yeah, you definitely want spell density, right? You want to have 9 spells, 10 spells, right? So that, you want this to hit, right? You don't want this to ever miss.
Right.
But if you have 8, 9 spells, yeah, this is very good.
This is a B.
I don't know if I'd go B. It's still, Well, I guess if you are casting this, you have enough mana to often get the spell and then cast it, right? It's not like, it's going to be later in the game.
Right, I think this is the sort of the perfect thing of if it's in my opener, it's a land, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's a top deck, I just get to dig for another spell. I think that's really good.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go B- on this one, but...
Yeah, okay.
All right, what do we have next?
Wind Rider Wizard. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human wizard with flying. Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard spell, you can loot. You may draw a card, and if you do, you discard a card.
Yeah, this is really nice. So there's a few things they care about. There's a few things that we saw the common that rebought an instant or sorcery from your grave. So you get some additional value from stuff going to your grave, but just the baseline of when you cast the wizard, you draw a card, you loot. That's quite good on your Windrake, right?
Yeah.
Probably gonna be a must kill on turn 3. They would very much like to deal with it. I don't know, B- on this one.
I'm gonna go C+, but I could see it being B-.
That's fair. I just think that this card
maybe types and synergy is enough.
Got enough. Yeah, it's got enough going on, especially with blue being tempo-y, right? I think that it just the package adds up to a nice little card.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, next up, we got Surefoot Infiltrator. What a weird name. 3 and a blue for a 2/3. It's a Merfolk Rogue, and it says tap another untapped rogue you control. This card can't be blocked this turn. Whenever Surefoot Infiltrator deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card.
I am not that crazy about this card.
No, me either. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. If this was 3 mana, I'd be much more into it because you have that nice curve once again of going into the Royal or whatever.
I mean, I suppose if you are a dedicated rogue deck, this is pretty cool because if you're a rogue deck, you're tempo-y, and then so every creature I play, it has summoning sickness, but I tap that one, then I get to nug in for 2 and draw a card and keep that engine going. That's pretty good.
Tap my blue 1/1 that I have played in my deck. That is a rogue.
Oh, Alex, what are we gonna do with you?
All right, I do think this card is actually slightly better than I thought on initial read. It's still not great though. I'd still just give it a C.
That could be like synergy C plus. I don't know if
Yeah, I can see that too. If you are like a rogue deck, you really care about that. This is good, right? But I think that like number one, you want to have.
I don't think you because so here's the thing is like you're just not. Maybe this is even a build around. Maybe this is an incentive to draft a rogue deck because like I'm not playing this in my like I'm trying to go get my full party deck going, right? I'm not playing this there.
Yeah, you might. It's like, but it's not like.
It's pretty bad in that deck.
Yeah, you're not excited about it by any means.
So where it lives is in a dedicated rogue deck, and I think it could be good enough to be like, hey, I really like. Oh, this is a huge payoff for that deck because the support's there at common. I kind of want to go like build around B minus here.
Ooh, that's high for me. I'll go C plus.
C plus, all right.
But I respect it. All right, next up.
Air Elemental.
Yeah.
Just got. Merfolk Falconer, 3 blue for a 4/4. Merfolk Wizard, flying. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, scry 2.
I mean, I can't complain. I have nothing to say.
I have nothing bad to say.
Yeah.
It's got types. It's got kicker synergy. It's just straight up good on its own.
B.
B.
B, yeah. Might end up being like a B minus just because it's 5 mana, but.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, B. Skyclave Plunders. This is 4 and a blue for a sorcery. Look at the top X cards of your library where X is 3 plus the number of creatures in your party. Put 3 of those cards in your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. So, this is powerful. It's a good draw spell. Like,
right. At its worst, it's 5 mana, draw 3.
Yeah. And often you're going to get to look at an extra 2 cards and take the 3 best of those 5.
That was like a rare.
Yeah, it was Ugin's Insight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Is this better or worse than the Divination with Kicker?
I would think worse, which doesn't bode well for this card, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I think they go in slightly different decks, right? Like, I think the kicker, like the kicker one, wants to go into kicker deck where you're like you want to hit your land drops and like and this is more of like a finisher in a way, right? It's like really, I don't know if you have like a really removal heavy deck or something. They play slightly different roles. I don't know. Powerful effect, but I don't think you're going to take it that highly, right?
Yeah, I think it's powerful, but the lack of flexibility on this versus the Divination has me kind of down on this card.
I do want to address on these draw spells something that I see a lot of, like doesn't affect the board, which is totally a valid point to make. But you have to note that cards like card draw spells, like cool enchantments, their purpose is not to affect the board, right? You have other cards in your deck to do that. Their purpose, the role they fill is something else, right? So you can't expect your card draw spell or whatever to affect the board, right? Yeah. I think that's just something to point out.
Yeah, I think I'm probably just gonna start on C minus here.
Yeah, I agree with that. It reads powerful, but I think in practice it's just not going to make. Yeah, maybe it's just better than it looks. I don't know. I'm going to say C.
Okay. Last up here is Omar Wizard, 4 and a blue for a 4/3 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, Omar Wizard gains flying until end of turn. And just why not? It's a land.
Yeah, sure. It's good. Yeah, this is one of the better ones, I think.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very, very
good. Could be B plus.
How many? In your blue-red wizard deck, how many spells will not trigger this card? Right?
Like, no, man.
Yeah, like cast a spell, trigger it. Yeah, this one's B plus. Yeah, I'm down for B plus on this one.
Yeah, I just said B, but B plus is fine too.
Sure, yeah. That works too.
All right. What's our first rare here?
Yeah, we got Confounding Conundrum. So this is 2 and a blue for an enchantment, and says when Confounding Conundrum enters the battlefield, you draw a card. When a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player had another land enter the battlefield under their control this turn, they return a land they control to its owner's hand. So if you play this, you let your ramp opponent pick up their double face cards that they have played earlier in the game.
Yeah, so this is an F.
Yeah, this is a constructed card. You do not play this card. There's no reason to play this card. I don't think anybody is tempted to play this card, but do not put this card in your deck.
Maddening Cacophony is 1 and a blue for a sorcery. Each opponent mills 8 cards, has kicker 3 and a blue, and if you pay that kicker, they mill half their library instead, rounded up.
8's a lot. Eight gets
so.
you the threshold, right?
Do you want this in your rogue deck?
Likely no.
No, right?
Yeah, unless you have just like a ton of payoffs, right? Like if you have like, I don't know, 2 of the gold uncommons and like 2 other good uncommons, like you might. It's potentially, but I think this is more like a blue-red wizard control card. Like it's a win condition that you can loop a few times, right? Like you cast this a few times, buy it back. It's certainly powerful. It's very build around you though, right? Like I don't think you're just playing this in your rogue deck outside of some percentage of the time, which isn't very high. I think it's like a build around C plus though, or yes, I would go build around C plus on this.
I'm kind of just out on this card.
Not a fan?
I don't think I want to play this like ever. I just don't like. Yes, there are gonna be times when I'm like, ooh, I get to go like, I play a couple rogues that care about 8 cards, and then I play this to enable them all, and that's great. But any other situation, it's hard for me to imagine being happy with this card.
So
and build around. It doesn't feel like I open this and I go, ooh, okay, let's make this work.
I think you will some. Maybe you won't open it up and take it. I don't think that's true, but like, isn't this just pretty darn good against like a grindy kicker deck? Maybe the kicker decks aren't even that grindy though. Who knows?
They don't seem that grindy to me.
Yeah. All right.
Especially if blue is tempo-y. I think blue-green is going to mostly be tempo.
I think this has a place, but I don't think you're going to play it often. So I'm going to give it a build around C+, because there's going to be times when you build around it.
I think I'm going to give it a D-.
Yeah.
But so that's a pretty big difference for us.
Yeah, that is one of the bigger ones.
What's Nimble Trap Finder?
Yeah, so next up we have Nimble Trap Finder. So this is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 rogue, Merfolk rogue, or human rogue. Sorry, Nimble Trap Finder cannot be blocked if you cast one of the party members, and then is it when it deals combat damage you loot? Is that what it is?
Whenever this creature deals combat damage player, you just straight up draw, baby.
Oh, straight up draw a card. Okay, yeah. So,
but that's again in what I believe is going to be Magical Christmas Land, but.
Yeah, if you have a full party, you'll draw a card, right? So this is kind of Relic Runner, Relic Runner for right?
Yeah.
Still fine.
It's got types. It's especially being a rogue. It's got types. I do think that's relevant. I mean, especially being a rogue and blue being tempo-y. I think this is a good 2. I think this is like a C+. Yeah.
Yeah, totally serviceable.
Yeah. Next up is Seagate Stormcaller, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 human wizard. It has kicker 4 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less. Copy that you cast this turn when you cast it. Well, that's great. That's really, really intuitive. And if Seagate Stormcaller was kicked, you copy that spell twice instead. So that's like never happening. That's 9 mana. Or 8 mana, I guess.
Yeah.
For what spell though? What are we even copying? Yeah, this is like this on its own is fine. Like 2 mana copy.
This is quite good, right? Yeah.
If I've into the Royal kicked for 3 blue, then I get to copy that. I don't know. This card is fine. This is not great. This is a constructed card. This is
of note. Kicker. Like kick spells retain their original CMC. So into the Royal, that counts, right? Like
right, I get to copy. I can copy the kicked into the Royal. I don't.
This is still a good card. You're not.
It's fine. I don't think this is. But like this is a mythic that is not going to feel like a mythic in limited.
Yes, it's like a good uncommon, right?
Right.
Yeah. 2/1 wizard. I mean, I'd give this a B- still.
Sure, B- is fine.
Yeah, it's gonna do some cool stuff. Like you cast it. Like there's in red there's the bolt, right? Just 3 mana bolt.
And then you can kick that.
And if you kick that, like that's a lot of mana, of course, but it's gonna come up some amount of time. All right, next up we have Thieving Skydiver. So this is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 flyer. It's a Merfolk rogue. It has kicker X, and X cannot be 0. It says when Thieving Skydiver enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you gain control of target artifact with CMC X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. Yeah,
That's
this is
pretty
a nice
sweet.
one.
2 mana, 2/1 flyer with types that can steal equipment.
Yeah, and there's gonna be equipment running around. There's a few artifacts running around. Like I mentioned before, we'll get to eventually. There's the cycle of uncommon tribal artifacts that are quite good. Now, not gonna be best use to you, but you get to steal it from your opponent still, which is still great. All on a 2/1 flying body. That's a rogue. Yeah, this is quite a solid card.
It's like a B.
Yeah, I just give it a solid B.
Yeah. Coral Helm Chronicler is next. This is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, draw a card, then discard a card. When Coral Helm Chronicler enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with kicker ability from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yeah, so, I mean, how many kicker cards do you think we're going to play in our deck? Like, an 8, 9, potentially? Well, maybe even more.
8. Like, I think if I have more than 6, I'm happy. It seems like. I'm playing this in that deck, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're never like not playing. Like you would play this with only a few kicker cards, most likely. Like especially it's a wizard.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we got a lot of B's, but I think it's just maybe it's like a B minus.
I think it's a B minus.
Build around E, maybe potentially.
It seems just good to me. Probably.
We just want to give it
like Into the Royal is the best blue common. Like it's just like how it can't be. If you're in blue, you should be getting kicker cards.
Do you? Well, kind of interesting. Do you take this over Into the Royal or?
Oof. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Pick one. Maybe not.
I think as of right now, I'm not doing that, but I could be convinced.
Yeah. Oh man, Into the Royal, so good.
Man. Like the more I think about Into the Royal, the more I am excited about that card. All right. Next up, we have Glasspool Mimics. This is 2 and a blue for an 0/0. It is a Shapeshifter Rogue. Well, that's kind of nice to give it a Rogue type. And it's a clone, but it only clones your creature. So onto the battlefield, you make it a copy of one of your creatures, except it's a Shapeshifter Rogue in addition to its other types. And it's a land on the back.
This is one of the better ones, right?
Yeah, this is sweet. This is really, really good.
Yeah. I would say B plus here.
Yeah, I like
these.
Yeah, B plus.
Because these effect, like again, this is just like in your opener. This is a land probably.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you don't need it, and you're crafting the board in such a way, and then you top deck this, and it's like the times when this is the worst is when you're very behind and you top deck this.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of cards that don't get you out of those situations.
Yep, exactly, and I think that's an important thing to think about when evaluating cards.
Yeah. Jace Mirror Mage, 1 blue for a 4 loyalty walker with kicker 2. When enters the battlefield, if Jace was kicked, you create a token that's a copy of Jace Mirror Mage, except it's not legendary, and its starting loyalty is 1. +1, scry 2, 0, draw a card, reveal it, remove a number of loyalty counters equal to that card's converted mana cost from Jace Mirror Mage.
It's cool. It does some interesting things. So, okay, so let's just think about this on baseline, what it's doing if you don't kick it, right? So 4 mana, you're likely going to scry
3 mana.
Oh, sorry. 3 mana, 4 loyalty is what I meant. You're likely going to scry 2 on the first go, right? And then it's like a weird divination sort of. If you get lucky, keep hitting lands, it's pretty darn good.
Well, that's why you want to have 2, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you can hit the land, and then yeah, exactly. You set it up.
So that's the thing is like you kick it, and then the one looks at your top,
right.
And if it's a land, you 0, and if it's not, you scry with the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is gonna be you need to have a board, but that doesn't seem to be tough to do.
Well, it's not even that bad on turn 3.
On turn 3 by itself, just because 5 loyalty is so much.
Yeah. Like sort of like a B plus.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite powerful.
I just feel like they're just gonna be boards when your opponent kicks this, and you're just like, I have to deal with 2 of these?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the other end, the clone can even start ticking up and become a real threat on its own, right?
Yeah. Like, in theory, you kick this, and then you have to deal with 7 loyalty.
Yeah, that's a lot of loyalty to deal with. And I think maybe we're slightly overrating this just because Planeswalker is a thing, but I think overall...
This is cheap and flexible and high loyalty. Yep. I don't know. I think this card's good.
Yep, I agree. All right, next up here.
Crab Dad.
Yeah, Crab Dad. So we got Triax. Triax, I think. The Raging Isles. This is 2 blue for a Leviathan Crab. An 017.
Cool.
I think it's the biggest butt we've ever seen. Spells your opponent cast at Triax the Rising Isle cost 2 more to cast. 3 mana. Triax gets plus X, negative X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control.
I mean, yes. I don't know. Like,
I think this is quite good. This is quite good. It's really hard to block this or attack.
Right, you're just chumping that. Like, if I have 6 mana,
yeah, you have to chump this.
You're chumping this because otherwise I just pump 6 mana and deal you 6 probably, and God forbid it's 8. Like,
yeah, it's hard to interact with in combat or just with spells, right? Like,
yeah,
damage-based removal will not kill this. Straight up kill effects cost more mana, right? Like, that's really good.
Right. So someone's asking how many islands are you running in an average deck, which is an important question to ask with the MDFCs.
Oh, that is a great point. I actually had not considered that. But, that's a great point. Yeah.
So there's only one modal card per pack.
Yeah.
Right? So if we think 24 at the table, on average, you're going to only have 3 in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not impacting your colored sources that much, or your basic land count that much.
I still think it's going to be really good.
I think this card's great. This is a B+, I think.
Yeah, I think it's B+. It's still awesome.
Yeah.
Excited to play with that card.
All right, Inscription Insight is next. This is 3 and a blue for a sorcery. It has kicker, 2 blue. Choose one. If the spell was kicked, choose any number instead. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. Scry 2, then draw 2. Target player creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the number of cards in their hand.
Yeah, it's sort of got Sublime Epiphany vibes. Not as good as that card, I don't think.
No. But it's
incredibly
flexible, and I think 4 mana for each of these effects is like this kind of feels a little worse than the green one in that sense, but I do think it's quite good. Kicking this is going to be tough.
I don't even know if it's gonna be that tough in like your dedicated, like in your decks that aren't looking to kick it. Like it's gonna be.
I mean, we're only 3 colors deep, but these. I think your analogy to Ikoria feels very right in terms of all this like column A, column B stuff.
Right.
Like every time I feel like we're like, well, in a dedicated rogues deck, in a dedicated kicker deck, in a party deck, like. It does feel like the lanes are very clearly like this wants to go here,
and the way the payoffs and enablers are set up, it's very much like Ikoria, where it's just like there's just very few payoffs to common. All of the payoffs or the good ones are at uncommon. The common ones kind of suck, right? So it's like you're going to be getting into these decks. You're going to speculate on the clerics. You're going to speculate on the rogues, on the party deck, whatever, right? And I think that's just going to lead to... So here's something I do want to bring up. No, maybe not the absolute best time, but I think just a party point that I wanted to talk about that Ryan Sachs brought up, where he was talking about that white, blue, and red-black might be kind of a hub in the draft. So like you can start white-blue as a way to transition into the other other classes very easily, right? Because you're going to get a wide swath of creature types. It's very easy to transition into rogues from white-blue. Or wizards from white blue, you can switch into red blue. Whereas you start wizards, it's very hard to transition into one of the other ones, right? So that's interesting, right?
Yeah, and I think it'll be also interesting to see if it shakes out like Ikoria in the sense of like mutate is kind of anemic and Mardu is very like highly supported. Like I think that'll be interesting to see if that's how it happens, and then what are the colors or archetypes that you want to sort of bias towards.
Right, yeah. I totally agree with that.
All right, so back to Inscription of Insight. This is still like what, a solid B?
Yeah, solid B.
Okay.
All right, next up, we have Master of Winds. 2 blue for a Sphinx Wizard. It's a 1/4 flyer. When this card enters the battlefield, you draw 2 cards and you discard a card. So you're up a card there with a bit of looting. And whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard, I like that they did all of that, right? It's not just like instant or sorcery, it's wizard as well on these cards. You may have Master of Winds base power and toughness become 4/1 or 1/4 until end of turn. So it also subverts all the crazy power toughness swapping rules minutia, where it's just like
right. The layer I never understand.
Layers, yeah.
This is a very good card.
Yes, this is fantastic. Comes down, blocks, draws you a card, can start beating down.
B plus for me, yeah.
Yeah, B plus. Yeah, excellent card.
All right, last blue card here is Seagate Restoration, 4 triple blue. Draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game.
It's probably
this is
still
not
C plus, right? Like,
is it? This is maybe the worst one, right?
yeah, it's
a land still, so it's fine. But I think I might even give this like a C.
No, I don't think you give it. This one.
Alex, this is 7 mana draw card.
It's not gonna be the last card you cast. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not gonna be the last card in your hand.
It's not?
No, I don't think so.
It's a 7 mana spell. What else is in my hand?
You can draw other cards in the game of Magic.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna give this a C plus. I don't want to argue too much about it, but
right,
I think you're gonna draw more than one card off of this when you cast it.
You send me those screenshots, baby.
Yeah.
you send that to me.
I mean, oh no, even better. You send them to me, Ethan.
I mean, honestly, the person who's more likely to cast this card is 100% me.
Yeah.
You are never casting this card.
Yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for blue.